I mean, I've heard people refer to Howard as like the Harvard of HBCUs, but I don't think that's a
Don't let the
self-description.
Morehouse and Spelman people hear that.
Exactly. I would never. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Chi here. So I'm excited to attend my first BTS concert next week in Baltimore. I don't know a whole lot about the band, but I do know that I purchased my very first BTS album, Arirang, earlier this year, and I've been listening to it in preparation for the concert. So I know that there was a bit of hullabaloo earlier this year in 2026 around BTS's depiction of Howard University. So some of you might recall seeing the anime / cartoon version of BTS depicting themselves as the first Koreans to study at Howard University, which is one of the many historically black colleges and universities in the United States. Back in the late 1800s, a group of Korean men came to the United States, to DC, to get a non-colonial education. Howard University is where they were able to study because almost all universities refused admission to non-whites to pursue higher education. Keep in mind that this was a time only about 30 years out of slavery, during which black people who were enslaved were not allowed to learn to read and write. It wasn't until 1907 that Harvard University accepted Korean students. So there was a bit of backlash in the cartoon depiction of BTS who were representing those first Korean students to attend Howard University because they had completely erased the fact that Howard University was and remains an HBCU. It has always been a university where people of color could be educated in a way that was not Eurocentric. Many Africans studied at Howard University and other HBCUs to receive a non-colonial education. This includes the first president of Nigeria, Nnamdi Ezekwe, as well as the first president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah. So one of the many things that are really remarkable about this situation is that Howard University anthropologists created the very first recording of the classic Korean folkloric song Arirang, which holds a lot of deep meaning for Korean people. That meaning includes resistance against colonization, genocide, and national pride. Here I sit with two of my K-drama besties, Lenora and Kerris, to receive some K-drama support. If you'd like to see the full video in which we talk about Korean dramas as well, send me a DM and I will send you a link to our Patreon where you can view the video, flaws and all. Here we just talk about the anticipation surrounding Arirang, and I asked the ladies to explain the Howard University representation involving BTS to me, and I hope that you guys enjoy the discussion.
Thank you so much for coming to K-Drama Support Group, where we support each other over our addiction to K-dramas.
Today we have our bonnets on. So let's destigmatize the bonnet. So today we're going to talk with our friend Pumps and Gloss, aka Kerris, about BTS and what's been happening. They're coming back. They have a new album. There's some new drama, and I don't understand what's happening. So, Kerris, how do you feel about BTS coming back?
It's very exciting, just to see, wonder, what they're going to put out. So, yeah, it's exciting. That's all I can say about that aspect.
Lenora, are you a member of ARMY?
Yeah, I'm definitely a BTS fan. I
didn't
think
know
they're
this.
really good. I think they're a strong group. They've been around a long time, and I'm excited to see what they're gonna do next, basically, with this album. Yeah.
So I know nothing about BTS. Oh no, that's a lie. I know the bare minimum because Karis has informed me of a lot of things. The only thing I know she's told me about. But also, I just bought tickets to see them. So I'm going to see them in Baltimore. I'm really excited because it seems like they put on a really, really good show. I've heard lots of good things about their performances. And I've course, I've seen them online and stuff performing. And so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go because I didn't get to see Michael Jackson. There are a lot of people who I wanted to see, but they died first, like Prince. I'm like, I will see BTS before any of their members pass away. Are you familiar with Kat Turner? The not crisis, the hullabaloo around her and her pronunciation of Arirang.
No, I know Kat, but I'm not, no.
Okay. So there's a whole hullabaloo about that because she, of course, is an adoptee, and she made a post on Instagram and on social media about the meaning of Arirang and the meaning of the
Hmm.
space in which BTS is performing in Korea and
Hmm.
what it means to her as a Korean adoptee. And a bunch of people were pissed at her. Specifically, it seemed like a lot of Koreans were pissed at her, as well as a lot of like Korean North Americans. They're like, "You're
Hmm.
pronouncing it wrong. What's wrong with you?" And it seems as though this term has a lot of like symbolism, symbolic meaning.
Hmm.
Lenore, I think that you like talked a little bit about it as far as like it having a traditional element to it, like it being an old Korean folk song.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I heard that the word means referring to. So I'm assuming they're gonna have more of traditional Korean music within their stuff, within their album. Yeah.
Karis, what do you
I
think?
see. I think that they do a really good job of incorporating their culture. Obviously, various Black cultures of music, not just Black American music. Um, they always infuse their culture in there. So we'll see. They performed that song, I want to say 2014, 2015, maybe in France at a K-Con. And so they have they have like the traditional part, and then they have kind of like a newer part to the song. But the song has like different textures, different sounds, depending on who's performing it.
So, have you guys seen the BTS animation where they're
Yes,
at Howard University?
yes. Hmm.
There's been a lot of hullabaloo because apparently
As it should
the,
be, as it should be.
apparently they took they depicted Howard University, aka the Mecca, as a predominantly white institution, even though it's a university that was created for Black people because Black people were not allowed to go to universities and colleges in the United States, the ones that were already existing. They recorded the very, very first recording of Arirang ever. They did it at Howard University. I believe it's housed now in the Library of Congress. What happened? How?
I mean, I don't know how it happened. I feel I blame the company. I always blame the company because, I blame the director. I never blame the actors. I blame the upper echelon people. So the thing about it is, in January, this article starts to circulate about these guys who came from Korea. I think they went through Canada and then they came to DC. They wanted to go to school. Obviously, nobody's going to take them. They can't go to a PWI. So they end up going to Howard to study. And according to one of the articles, I believe it's like the young ladies would ask them to sing because they were learning English and they couldn't speak English. So they asked them to sing. So I think that's where the idea of the recording came about. And the thing about the article, it was like kind of well timed. Um, and so I was excited because we always want to get these links to um, with Korea and I would say the diaspora, however it works out. And so it was an exciting time for us because we were like, okay, now we're seeing these links. And so obviously, so my mindset is everyone has not read that article. Everyone, a lot of people might know of Howard University because of Kamala, but in general, people wouldn't know that school unless they knew that school, right? And so to me is you have to intentionally do things. And the people who are watching the animation, all of them are not army, aren't all of them are not on, Bangtan Twitter. They don't know what's happening. So I think it would have been nice if they had to put that in there to show this school, Howard University. But to me, when you're doing these type of things, you have to be intentional because the people on the outside, they're always saying, oh, they're cultural appropriating, they're doing this and doing that, when we know that there's a link and there's a connection. And so to me, to not intentionally show that was not a good look.
What are your thoughts, Lenora?
I think it was like a bad step on the company's part. Like, if most likely if it was a company, because that just makes people think that they don't care about the history, they don't care about their black fans. You know, that's what most people are gonna, their conclusion they're gonna draw from it, when it's not actually true. It's just someone who's in the design part of it. They're the person who designed the actual animation. They're the ones who messed up, not BTS per se. Someone dropped the ball, and now it's like gonna trickle down to them, even though it's not their fault. So it's messed up.
Hmm. But don't they have like a large stake in the company? Like, okay, I know that there's the world of K-pop, right? And then there's like the companies within K-pop, and there's the artists. But from what I understood, I thought that like BTS was like the not only the biggest group that's a part of their, is it Hive? Is that what it's called?
No, I think they're involved in the process of things, but I don't know who's in charge of that.
Mm.
So, and they have to rehearse and they have to do all the different things. So I know that if it was an individual concert person, I would definitely blame a member because I have blamed members for things in the past. Even my fave did stuff I didn't like. But to me is the way that this thing is orchestrated. A lot of the things probably happened while they were in the military, because that that animation thing is that takes a while to do that, even though it's a couple like a minute and some change. So I'm not saying that they're not a part of it or they're not a part of the issue. I do think though that they should speak on it and correct it in some type of way. Like when they go to Baltimore, I think they should take a trip and take a tour of Howard. They should go and meet with some students and go to the Library of Congress and see that whatever. I just feel like it is up to them to make it right.
They should speak out about it. I agree with you. I think they should say something and
Yeah.
recognize their mistake. And I was thinking, hey, maybe they should do like a 10-minute concert at Howard University for the students there. That's free, just to Howard students, or
Yeah.
something that is a way to pay back this amazing institution. But you know what? I was thinking though about the Howard debacle. I think
Hmm.
they don't care. I think they don't care. I think that maybe individual members of BTS care, but I don't think the company cares. I think that they just did it and they moved on, because I see it as a part of a larger discussion, discourse, or theme in the Korean wave, in which there's this there's anti-blackness, right? Even though
Hmm.
black people have heavily influenced K-pop and they see
Hmm.
black artists as mentors, individuals as mentors, but also as inspiration. But despite that, we still see a lot of things like blackface, a lot of like just disrespect to black
Hmm.
cultures, U.S. black culture especially, but not exclusively. And I kind of feel like I just don't think they care, because it happens
The
so
company or
often.
everybody?
The company, the institution of
Oh yeah, they
Hive,
don't
the
care.
institution of
No,
K-pop.
all of them. SM, all of them. They don't care. There was a situation one time with a person, but he is Asian American, and he actually apologized about the incident, everything. And from what I understand, he had a like an Instagram video. They made him take it down. So sometimes, like I always say, when I see the artists talking, they're very inclusive of everyone, but when it's the company, it's a different situation.
So there's this concept of the generalized other, where like you're imagining the world out there and what that face looks like, right?
Mhm.
And I think to myself, like when Koreans are thinking about the international audience, they're really thinking about white people.
Mhm. I would say the company for sure. Yes. Because so a long time ago, a friend of mine and I, we had a discussion about BTS's their title tracks and how they always kind of skewed very poppy. Whereas when you listen to the remainder of the album, the deep cuts, they're R&B hip hop. And so we realize it's intentionally done to kind of get people on board. Um, so so sometimes like when people will see them perform and they're like, oh, oh, I thought they did EDM. I thought they were pop. And then when they're hearing them do their like, you know, real hip hop stuff and R&B, and they're like, oh, I didn't know they did music like this. So it's kind of almost like they're trying to attract this particular audience. And so that's very interesting to me. But I think like when it comes to the individual members, like for example, there's a song where they say nigga nigga a lot in this particular part of a song. And so this was like their first time, it was their second time performing, but it was like their first time performing like a comeback, and they were on American award show. So they decided to take the nigga nigga out because they don't want to be offensive to anybody, because they know people don't know Korean stuff like that. And so they did that. Some people thought it was, performative. Some people were like, this is silly, but I felt like he did what he wanted to do. Um, that was okay. So I don't know if he got together and said, hey guys, we're performing in America. This is, this is because they all listen to rap music. They know what is what not. So I think maybe he said, hey, let's take this word out and just see how it goes. And when we perform with our fans, they know what everybody knows what it means. So it's not a problem. I think that the backlash of the Howard situation, because let me say this. I've seen situations where there was some ill-placed voiceovers, and they took that voiceover out. The album came out on Friday. By Sunday, they had a new track of that voiceover. And so, and it was Black women who complained about the voiceover, of who that person was. And when you hear what they're saying, it's innocuous, but who the person is, they were like, he has harmed many Black people, Black women, and they took it out. Fridays by Sunday morning, we had a new song.
And this is exactly why I say they don't care. Because if they really cared, they could have redone that animation and just like, colored people's faces so they'd be a little darker, or like, change facial characteristics or something. Because it is an animation. It's not like these are real individual people, right? But I'm like, they could have fixed it and they still haven't. And that bothers me a lot.
I think they should have. There's a, you have to watch it, but there's a disclaimer in the front, and I think the disclaimer is like, hey, we didn't name names because we didn't. That's not what it says, but it's a disclaimer, and so I think that was to like say everybody calm down. So the disclaimer is there from the beginning. So I think because of the disclaimer, they wouldn't change it.
Mm-hmm. The disclaimer's not enough. That's why I
No,
say
it's not. No, absolutely, it's not enough.
it's not enough. It's not enough. And in fact, I think that Howard is such a revered institution
Yeah.
for the United States as a whole, and for African Americans in this country, for Black people, that they messed with the wrong one.
I don't need them to add more Black faces. I need them to say, this is Howard University and this is where this happened. And because you have to be intentional. When you see the building, you know it's the building.
Mm-hmm.
If you know the building, you know it's the building. Because there are armies who go to Howard and they were like, yeah, that's our building. you know. And so for some people it was a teaching moment to say, hey, this is what is going on at Howard. These are the people who came from Howard and this is what's happening. Because one of my I think about this all the time, is that a lot of people outside of America know the Black artists, the Black singers, the Black athletes, but they don't know like the Black institutions. They don't know the Black scientists, the inventors. that actually impact their lives that they have no idea about. And so this is why I feel like that intention should have been there.
Yeah. I also think they wouldn't have done that to like a Harvard or a Yale or a Stanford. Like if they'd done the same thing, like
No,
if
I
like
don't think so.
Harvard did, of course, did not allow, Koreans to go to their school back then.
Mm-mm,
So it would not have been able to make a recording of Koreans singing the song. But
mhm,
if Harvard had this recording of Korean students from the 1800s, I think they would have treated it a lot more seriously.
mhm,
I think they would have been more careful. And I almost,
mhm.
I mean, I've heard people refer to Howard as like the Harvard of HBCUs, but I don't think I
Don't
don't think
let the
it's very
Morehouse and Spelman people hear that.
exactly. I would never. I don't want to piss off the Morehouse and Spelman people, so I would never say that personally
Not
myself.
me personally, no.
Nope, nope. We're not going to say that. We're not saying it's the Harvard equivalent because I think it surpasses Harvard in a lot of ways, right? It's like that's not a fair comparison. It's not fair to Howard, you know. Oh, so any other things that we wanted to talk about today?